Hi, Luli and Annie. First of anything, happy birthday, Luli. I hope you're having a really good day. Now we'll go straight to the class. I'm going to share my screen. And today we're going to talk about spore-bearing plants and fungi, okay? So some living things don't grow flowers or cones where seeds are produced, but they're still able to reproduce and make more plants. So God designed them to reproduce by means of spores. Spores are like these little dots here that the plants have. They are tiny specialized structures that are able to grow into a new organism from that little thing, from that little dot. Okay? And spores help an organism survive and move from place to place. Okay? For vocabulary today, we have exposed, expuesto, meaning something uncovered or open up. We have hyphae, the thread-like bodies of certain fungi, like this. Spores, like this picture, single cells that some plants produce. They are the beginning of a new life for these plants. And they have all of the information that's going to decide what the new plant is going to be like. Okay, so moss and ferns and toadstools like this one, or mold on cheese or bread, cuando el pan o el queso se honguea. All of these things produce spores during the reproductive part of their life cycles. And many kinds of plants, some kinds of fungi, algae, bacteria, and protozoans form spores. This is a picture of an alga spore, okay? So living things that produce spores go through life cycles, beginning, growth, adulthood, and death, okay? And here I put the life cycle of the fern, okay? So you got a spore, the spore reproduces, it's fertilized, then a new plant, and a mature plant, okay? But I'm gonna explain more because that picture is not exact. So life for these living things begins as a little spore. The spore can begin, the parent plant releases the spore into the air, and the spore is flying in the air, and then it has to settle, it has to stop on something moist, húmedo, and it needs a small amount of water and warmth to begin growing, okay? So most spores are able to stay alive in difficult situations. Heat, cold, or dryness are not going to affect the spore unless it's a long time. Spores can have different sizes and shapes, and they're usually protected by a tough coat, una capa dura, or like hair-like cover so that they become attached to another organism, okay? Many spores are light and feathery, so they stay flying in the air for a long time, okay? And then they can move from one place to the other. That's the beginning of the life of the spore, like, or the stage of the spores. And then when the spore starts growing, okay, starts multiplying by mitosis. Remember, splitting of the cells. And the spores must also be attached to something that can provide food for it. It needs food because it can't provide its own food. Okay, so the spore needs enough moisture, food, warmth, okay, and it continues to grow into an adult organism, so into an adult plant, okay? Growth happens very quickly. Some type of plants can grow from a spore to an adult plant in less than a day. Other takes several years, like ferns and mosses. Fern significa lecho, like this plant, and mosses is musco. It's like kind of like a little plant that grows especially in forest, okay? So that you know. And then after it had the beginning stage, then the growing stage, now it has the adult stage. So the spore organism becomes an adult when it's ready to have more babies, to reproduce. And the adult organism produces spores. And when the spores are fully developed, they are released into the air. They start flying into the air, okay? And as adults, a spore-bearing organism can live many years, and others may complete a life cycle within months. So it depends what type of plant are you, okay? And most adult organisms can reproduce more than once, like many, many times, not only once. And then after some while, these organisms start reproducing new spores and start to not function that well, so they dry up and die. You know that that's part of the life cycle there, okay? And then millions of spores from the parent remain after the parent dies, and those spores could easily replace the parent and start growing again. Okay, so that would be it about spore-bearing plants.